Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Hello, Orioles fans, and welcome to a bonus episode for the main feed. It is our weekly minor league recap episode. Every Monday, patrons get a bonus episode like this, providing a full recap of the previous week's action down on the farm. Some good, some bad, all the highlights that give us a chance to talk a little more about performances and situations that we don't have time to dive into on the main show. But you get access to these episodes every week, plus the first week of every month, another bonus episode where we talk through updates to our top 50 list. Only patrons get the monthly updated list and discussion. You can sign up at patreon.com/ontheverge. You can also go to oriolesontheverge.com. That's our one-stop shop for all of our stuff. Links to all the social media accounts, YouTube, Patreon, Substack, brand new merch store, latest podcast episodes, even quick links to each Orioles affiliate website. Check out rosters, schedules, even have a minor league IL tracker there, so a one-stop place to get updated injury information. So definitely go check that out, patreon.com/ontheverge. Still a few more weeks of minor league baseball left, so you sign up now to check everything out these last couple of weeks. Or sign up for a full year and get access to the rest of this season, bonus off-season content, and then pretty much most of the 2027 season. Whether or not there's a major league season in 2027, if it's just delayed, whatever the case may be, the minor league season will roll on as scheduled. So sign up now, and if you sign up for the full year, you also get a bit of a discount as well. But without further ado, here's this week's recap.
Did you know that driving under the influence of marijuana is illegal? Driving high will get you a DUI. And if you're wondering if law enforcement can tell you're driving high, well, everyone else can. Friends?
I can tell you drove high.
Parents?
I can tell when you drive high.
Relatives?
I can tell. You drove here high, didn't you?
So what makes you think law enforcement can't?
I can tell.
If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
Welcome to this week's minor league recap episode. Nick here to take a look back at everything that happened down on the farm last week. Only a few more of these left for the 2026 season, but we've got some faces in new places, a couple of 2026 draft picks who made their pro debuts this past week. On last week's main show, I said, can we just get a couple more 2026 picks or UDFA arms, just a couple as we close out the year here in Single A. We got two. It was announced at the beginning of the week that two pitchers from the 2026 class would be joining Delmarva. We'll get to those guys in a second, although it was a week of unbelievably bad broadcast down on the farm. Zero opportunity to watch Delmarva and Frederick to get any actual looks at the pitchers, which is unfortunate because those are the two levels I wanted to focus heavily on right now. So not going to be able to provide too much context to some of those pitching lines since the camera views were either off to the side or on top of the stadium. But we still have 2 weeks left to get looks at some of the new guys. I like to usually begin these by starting at the lowest levels of the minor league, down the Dominican Summer League, but I'm going to skip that this week because the Dominican Summer League wrapped up last Tuesday. Neither DSL Orioles squad made the playoffs, so we're going to talk about a few standouts from this year's group on Monday night's main episode. I'll also have an article out early this week. A mailbag episode and DSL wrap-up on tap for Monday night if you were listening to this early Monday. But let's start down in Delmarva. Again, just 2 more weeks left, 12 games. That's it for the Delmarva Shorebirds 2026 season. The week began with that announcement of 2 new additions to Delmarva's roster. 9th-round pick right-handed pitcher Colin McKinney, who was selected out of Arizona. He was set to transfer to Houston for the 2027 season, but signed with the Orioles on a slight underslot deal. Didn't have the strongest season with Arizona last year, but was also used in a variety of roles, and supposedly that led him to entering the transfer portal. Arizona was hit with a lot of injuries, specifically pitching injuries last year that caused a lot of chaos. So I think it was not necessarily a wash year, but a frustrating year for McKinney and the entire Arizona program, but his MLB Draft League performance likely cemented him in becoming an Orioles draft pick. He was showing plus extension from his 6'5" frame, a 95-plus mile-an-hour fastball. He was topping out at 97 miles per hour in the draft league, 17-plus inches of induced vertical break with a cutter, 2,700 RPM curveball. McKinney's got some stuff to work with here. We also saw the addition of Braden Smith, a 15th-round pick out of Central Florida, made just 8 starts last year before that gruesome injury at West Virginia. I had shared an article after the draft where Smith was talking about having just returned to the mound, doing some work getting back into the groove for the first time since the injury, and how he felt great and was eager to pitch for an affiliate this year after being drafted by the Orioles. I thought that was bold, considering in April he was, fighting for his life, but clearly he's in a great place right now, and he made his debut on Sunday. Delmarva played at Hickory again, kind of an unwatchable broadcast as far as pitching is concerned, so we didn't get any real good looks at the arms. But Colin McKinney, making his debut on Sunday, went 1 2/3 innings, no hits, no runs, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. And then Braden Smith also going an inning and 2/3, no hits, no runs. He walked 3, struck out 2. The 3 walks don't really mean that much, though. It's his first time on the mound since April. Just excited that he is back in action. One other note on the Delmarva pitching staff this week, Esteban Mejia. He comes back from the development list, has 2 disastrous outings, 10 earned runs, 0 outs recorded, but since then he has been a completely different pitcher. 3 outings, 8 1/3 total innings, 5 hits allowed, 0 earned runs, 3 walks, and 11 strikeouts for Mejia across those 3 appearances. His strike percentage is up and up and up, 53% to 60% to 63% in his most previous outing. Want to see him finish the year pitching like this, though. He should get 2 more outings, and it would be nice to see him finish the year on a high note after a disastrous season. Credit to him, though, for this turnaround. For a 19-year-old kid to experience what he did this year, gets taken off the roster, put on the development list for a couple of weeks, then 2 terrible outings. In his return from the development list, credit to the determination and mental toughness that had to take. On the hitting side for Delmarva, Ty Head was a lot of fun to watch in college. He's even more fun to watch in the Orioles organization. And I know college kid, single A, yada yada, but he hit .333 last week with his second career home run, chucking the bat after he hit the home run. Love to see the confidence and the aura there with Ty Head. He's hitting .353 through his first 9 games. Just seems pretty logical that he's going to get moved up to high A for the playoffs there. 10th round pick Carlos Sanchez also made his pro debut last week. 3 hits and 11 at-bats, a pair of walks, and a pair of stolen bases. He entered his first game in the 8th inning, drew a walk, scored a run, caught the 9th inning, and picked up an infield single in the 9th for his first pro hit. He caught one other game that he played, and he played second base for the other 2. So again, remember, Sanchez was announced on draft night as a utility player. He's played all around the infield, behind the plate. He's played some outfield as well, coming out of LSU Shreveport. So I'm very interested to see where he mainly gets deployed defensively, but congratulations to Sanchez on a successful debut. Miguel Rodriguez hit .357 last week, struck out just 1 time. I would like to see Ethan Anderson. His rehab should be up in Frederick, so get Ethan Anderson back up to AA, maybe AAA after a week or so, but get Ethan Anderson back up to AA. Send Andres Nolaya back to Delmarva, put him on the development list. Miguel Rodriguez gets the bump up to high A to close out the year. I think he deserves it after a strong 2026 season and pretty much picking up from where he left off in 2024 after missing the 2025 season. But here are my 2 favorite performances this week down in Delmarva. First was Steven Martinez. He hit .300 for the week, 2 home runs. He walked 4 times, OPS over 1,000 for the week. He just turned 19 years old earlier this month, and he's already up to 12 home runs now on the year. In the month of August alone, Steven Martinez is hitting .295 with 4 home runs. He has 14 walks. He had 22 walks all season coming into August. He's got 14 this month. He has struck out 16 times, but that is down. He struck out 24 times and 25 times over the last 2 months, 33 times the month before that. He's also 6 for 6 in stolen base attempts this month. So having it start to click for Martinez has the potential to be incredibly fun. And my other favorite performance down in Delmarva, Jamnardo Reyes. He has struggled in single A since the Twins pushed him up to that level before the Dean Kramer trade. But last week, Reyes hit .350 with a .480 on base percentage, and he doesn't turn 19 until October. So if he can end the year on a high note and with some confidence, it should set up for a fun 2027 for Reyes and his first full year in the Orioles organization. We'll go up to high A now, high A Frederick, where there were plenty of quality pitching performances. 20-year-old lefty Boston Bateman had 2 appearances on the week, 6 total innings, no runs allowed, 4 walks, 9 strikeouts. Bateman has been limited to shorter outings since he started battling a couple of injuries a few weeks ago, and he has been dominant. He is now 107 total strikeouts in 79 innings. It's a 3.63 ERA. But I do also wonder if the shorter outings for Bateman, I know I've seen a lot of comments already saying, put this kid in the bullpen. He could be so good. I agree. He could. But there is zero reason to even think about beginning to put Boston Bateman in the bullpen. You keep this kid stretched out as a starter. And I think part of the reason was probably injuries. But now I think some of these shorter outings for Bateman are probably a way to keep him going the rest of the season. He needs just 8 more innings to match his total from last year. You got 2 more weeks in the regular season in high A plus the playoffs. So you want his arm for the playoffs. So this could have been a way to help stretch his season out just a little bit longer. Either way, the 20-year-old prospect has checked off a ton of boxes this season. Also, right-handed pitcher Twine Palmer, he went 4 innings, 2 hits allowed, no earned runs, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts in his start this week. I talked about Palmer a little bit on last week's main show. He was my under-the-radar shout-out for the week, and I said he's likely going to be one of my favorite picks to click in 2027. Has missed a little bit of time with the injury this year, but now 21 years old, JUCO arm, acquired from the Astros from Ramon Urias. He's pitched 75 innings in Frederick this season, got a 3.21 ERA, a 2.04 average against, and 76 strikeouts. Excited to do a little bit of a deeper dive on Palmer once the season wraps up. He's near the top of my list of articles that I would love to get to over the next couple of weeks. But also, shout out to Teddy Sharkey down in Frederick. He gets drafted in the 7th round of the 2023 draft out of Coastal Carolina. Arguably the top relief prospect in that entire draft class. He pitches 10 innings of electric baseball right after the draft, but then logs just 8 innings in 2024 and 7 innings in 2025 due to multiple major injuries. But he is back 4 innings last week in 2 relief appearances, 1 hit allowed, 1 run, no walks, and 6 strikeouts. He's pitched a total of 10 innings in high A since coming off the injured list. He's got a .90 ERA with a 147 average against, 11 strikeouts to 2 walks. Love seeing Sharkey back on the mound and healthy. Last but not least, in high A, Kyson Witherspoon. Now, like Delmarva's games this week, Frederick's games were kind of a disaster broadcast as well. The Keys were up in Wilmington, who puts their cameras off to the side for some reason. I don't know, trouble in the state of Delaware and understanding how to shoot a baseball game, clearly. So there was just no way to get good viewings of the pitchers this week, but Witherspoon was dominant. 5 innings, no hits, no runs, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts. Walks have been higher than you'd like to see in his first couple of outings here with the Orioles, but it is his first year of professional baseball, and he's already changed organizations. The Orioles haven't and won't get the time that they need to fully work with him and make all the tweaks and adjustments they have planned for him before the end of this year. However, in 3 starts since the trade, he has a 1.26 ERA with 20 strikeouts in 14 innings. Opponents are hitting 184 against him. And I know Anthony Ianson being the headliner of the Adley trade and Witherspoon's numbers not being nearly as dominant in his first year, just felt like Witherspoon is a bit of an afterthought in this trade. Also considering the massive success of Indy Azakar, who we'll talk about in a moment. But Witherspoon was a $5 million arm, first-round arm, who rose after a truly dominant season at Oklahoma last year that included massively cutting his walk rate, a trend that even started earlier back this summer before his final year at Oklahoma in the Cape Cod League and with Team USA. I will happily buy all the Kyson Witherspoon stock going into 2027 because I think this kid's going to be pretty darn good moving forward. On the hitting side, the just mentioned Indy Azakar, if you haven't seen the video of his rocket arm gunning down a runner at third from right field, and doing so with enough time for the runner to realize he's going to be tagged out and contemplate life decisions he's made up to this point, go check out that video. Just an unbelievable throw by Azakar. And at the plate, he's been even hotter. He hit .393 last week, 3 extra base hits. Again, just 19 years old. Doesn't turn 20 until February, so spring training. But Azakar is hitting .357 with an OPS of 1024, 6 doubles, 2 triples, 3 home runs in 17 games since being traded to the Orioles. On the year, he has 62 extra base hits in just 102 games. A truly absurd season. He's going to end up being 20 years old starting next year in Double-A, most likely, with a real chance to see a significant amount of time in Triple-A before his 21st birthday. And last week should also be the final week for Ethan Anderson's rehab, as I mentioned earlier. Hope maybe send him back to Double-A for this week, and then hopefully Triple-A after that. We'll see, but should have been promoted to AAA a long time ago, but missed more than a month there because of the ankle injury. But Anderson hit .435 in 6 rehab games with Frederick. Again, let him go back to Bowie, if anything, just to pack, and then let him hit the road down south to Norfolk. But speaking of that AA level, we've got pitching, more pitching, and more good pitching to talk about. Caden Hunter, we'll start with him. He responded fairly well to his hiccup last week in Reading. Didn't get a chance at his rematch on Sunday due to the weather. Instead, he got pushed to Tuesday last week, where the line was fine. 5 innings, 5 hits, 1 run allowed, 2 walks, just 2 strikeouts. He also did need 90 pitches to get through those 5 innings. I think you're getting to a point where you start to maybe wind it down a little bit with Caden Hunter. And I think that's okay. I could also be completely wrong because he's clearly an animal out there on the mound and could come out next week or tomorrow and go 6 innings with 8 strikeouts. But he's pitched 1 season of D1 ball at USC. He went 70 innings last year. As he battled a knee injury for much of the second half of the season, he's now up to 89 innings in pro ball that span 3 different levels, 2 promotions. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the arm is starting to hit a bit of a wall. The command is going to waver a little bit more. The stuff may not be as sharp at this point. And again, that's okay. For a first-year pro, he's checked off more boxes than anyone imagined. And he could do enough this offseason and in spring training to warrant beginning 2027 in AAA. That is certainly not out of the question. Joseph Gira continues to dominate. That's what he does. 5 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts in his last start. First earned run he'd allowed in nearly a month. Would love to see him get 2 to 3 appearances in AAA before the end of the year, and there could be plenty of room for him, as we'll talk about in a minute. JT Quinn made his second AA start. He went 5 innings, allowed 5 hits, 2 runs, did not walk anybody, as his walk rate continues to be very impressive. Had a pair of strikeouts in this one. Sebastian Gongora made 2 appearances, including a 6-inning, 1 hit, no runs, outing on Sunday following an opener by the name of Felix Bautista. Maybe a new prospect in the system? I don't know. But on the week, Gongora pitched 9 innings. He allowed 1 run on 3 hits, struck out 6, as he continues to be one of the more slept-on pitching prospects in the system. 110 innings on the year for Gongora, a 3.67 ERA, 101 strikeouts, and that 12% walk rate he had last year is now down to 7% this year. There is also Anthony Ianson, 7 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, no walks, 8 strikeouts. He's now 85 innings into his professional career. He has a 1.58 ERA with a 36.4% strikeout rate. I think he's pretty good. And like Witherspoon, I'm even more excited to see what they both look like next year after the Orioles have had some more time to really work with them. As for the AA bats, Vahiva Aloy led the way. He hit 300 across 6 games, doubled twice, hit 2 home runs. He's up to now 20 home runs on the year between high A and AA. 293 average across 108 total games, 868 OPS. So far, Vahiva Aloy is doing exactly what I wanted to see from him in AA. More consistency. He put up a 714 OPS in April, followed that up with a 1026 OPS in May. Drops down to 606 in June, and then back up to 1085 in July. So can he hit the ground running in AA and avoid that every other month dip in production that we've seen so far? Well, in the month of August alone, he's hitting 290 with 10 extra base hits and a 963 OPS. So, I don't know. Could he get a week in AAA before the end of the year and finish off his first full year of pro ball in the highest level of the minor leagues? I think he could be ready for the challenge the way he's hitting the ball here in AA. And we know, of course, the glove is going to play. We also saw the first 4 games of Vance Honeycutt at the AA level. Even though he hit just 182 in high A, the Orioles promoted him to AA. It's a 4-game sample, so let's not get too excited yet. But he did go 5 for 13, so a 385 average, doubled twice, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts, and was 6 for 6 in stolen base attempts. Last but not least, AAA Norfolk, where the Tides started off with some not-so-good vibes. Nestor Herman was nearly through the 5th inning, likely his final inning of the night, but he left the outing early with a trainer, and it was announced he left with a shoulder injury. The Orioles wasted no time placing him on the IL the very next day. I'd rather have been a groin, a hamstring, anything than a shoulder or an elbow, but we will sit and wait for any more specifics on that injury. Getting placed on the 7-day IL, the IL designation doesn't really mean anything in the minor leagues. Not a sign of severity of injury. So, just because saying like, oh, it's just the 7-day IL doesn't necessarily mean it couldn't be something pretty serious. Hopefully it's not. Even if it's not serious and you think maybe he can come back in a week or two, I'd still almost rather they just shut him down, not risk anything else with just a few games left in this season. And Herman's checked off plenty of boxes this year. He was on the doorsteps of the major leagues. Go ahead and shut him down and hope he's 100% ready to go in spring training to battle for a roster spot. But in more positive news, Luis De Leon entered Wednesday's game out of the bullpen, and immediately, of course, every Orioles beat writer pushed out their copy and pasted tweet from Orioles PR announcing that Luis De Leon is now working out of the bullpen in anticipation of a big league call-up. So the Orioles bullpen could be looking at an infusion of Felix Bautista and Luis De Leon in the near future, which is awesome. If you are still holding out playoff hopes for this team, bless you for fighting the good fight and holding out hope. I don't think I'm part of that group, but a De Leon Bautista addition to the bullpen would be a lot of fun to watch as the season comes to a close. De Leon did go 1 inning on Wednesday, no hits, no runs. He walked 3 and struck out 2. Then he got another inning on Sunday, 1 hit, 1 run, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. Obviously not ideal numbers there, but it is a new role, and clearly the organization sat down with him, said, we want you in the big leagues now, so the pressure is dialed up a bit. But Jordy Henry, the Fredericks pitching coach, who has served in multiple different roles since joining the organization, he recently said in an interview where he called Luis De Leon Mr. Tranquillo because De Leon is always calm under pressure and can't be rattled. But you still got to give him a little time to adjust here in this role. I would guess his outings are pretty planned out as to what days he's going to pitch in assistance in this prep, and it's not an immediate switch where he's going into the mindset of, now you better be ready and get hot any night. I don't think the Orioles would go that route with him right now. But it's still a very different role from going from your starter's routine to flipping the switch, and now you're going to be working out of the bullpen. And also, you're making this switch because we want you putting on a Baltimore Orioles uniform in the very, very near future. So love to hear that news on Luis De Leon. We'll see how he continues to adjust, and we'll talk about him a little bit more, I think, on Monday night's main show as well. As far as the bats go in Norfolk, not a ton to highlight when it comes to Norfolk's lineup. Rain did heavily impact Norfolk's schedule this week. Very little offense in this series, but the one standout being Heston Kjerstad, who did go 6 for 12 with a double and a triple. He was having a pretty subpar season until August, where he's now hitting .298 with a .403 on-base percentage this month. He's walked 12 times all year, but already has 7 this month alone, so being a little bit more patient at the plate and drawing a couple of walks. Last note before I wrap this up, I'm recording this late Sunday night, and at that time there was an unconfirmed report of Jaden Loray being promoted to High A. Certainly no doubt that he's earned it, if true, and we've talked about this a few times recently. He's just 19 years old, but excelling in Single A, pushing him up for some High A playoff experience seems like a no-brainer. 56 games with Delmarva this year. He's hit .325, 18 extra base hits, 41 walks to just 22 strikeouts, 16 for 20 in stolen base attempts, 882 OPS, 151 WRC+. So a 19-year-old kid being 51% above league average at a level where he is more than a year younger than the average player is really, really fantastic to see. Check out last week's episode and my latest piece up on Substack for some more conversation about Jaden Loray and his phenomenal 2026 season and thoughts about what 2027 could bring for the prospect. But that'll do it for this week's recap. Join us live Monday night. We'll do a mailbag episode. If you have any questions or topics you want discussed, drop your question in the mailbag channel, in the Discord, shoot us a DM on any of our social media accounts, and we may add that to the rundown. We'll also wrap up the 2026 Dominican Summer League season by talking about this year's top performers. I'll have, again, a new article going up later this week about that, as well, looking at some of my favorite players. But until next time, have a great week.
Hey, it's Mike Rowe, and it just occurred to me that ZipRecruiter has been sponsoring my podcast, The Way I Heard It, for the last 10 years. Consequently, I've agreed to sing their jingle at the end of this commercial in 4-part harmony, all by myself. Why would I do that? Because years ago, when the MicroWorks Foundation was expanding and I was desperate to hire a few uniquely qualified individuals, I posted a job for free on ZipRecruiter, and I found the people I was looking for in less than 24 hours. It's that simple. Ever since, I've been telling my audience that ZipRecruiter got me the most qualified, most interested people. And now I'm telling you. Post a job for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip and watch what happens. That's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. And now, here's their official jingle in 4-part harmony. Build your team. Build it sooner. Meet your match at ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.